In this video, I want to explain to you the CAGED system. Now, the name CAGED arrives from the chords, CAGED, and it refers to them in the open position. So, let's just start. We have the C chord in the open position. Within this concept of the CAGED system, we consider this the C shape. Then we have the A. We consider this the A shape. The G, or most often played like this. The G, which we'll call the G shape. The E being the E shape, and the D as the D shape. Now, what does the CAGED system allow you to do? It allows you to expand your chords from the open position across the fretboard and play each chord with a different shape. So let's start from the beginning, just showing you rather than explaining it too much, because that way it's just easier to get. Let's start with C in the C shape, open position. Now, the next shape we can play this C chord in, going away from the open position, is the C played with the A shape, right? So it will cycle through. We can play a C in the C shape, in the A shape, the G shape, E and D across the fretboard. So how does this work? We have the C here in the C form. Now the next one is the A form, right? This is basically the shape that we looked at before with the A. But if we move this shape up, it becomes a C, but maintains this shape. Moving on, we need to go to the G shape. And as you know, when you play the G shape, you play the root note on the 6th string, which means now we need to find the C on the 6th string, which is on the 8th fret. So we go from here to, in theory, you would play it like this if you want to maintain the exact shape as the open chord. But this is quite difficult to finger. It's mainly the pinky that complicates the whole thing. So in practice, you will probably, and you can either choose to play the bottom half of the chord, sounding like this, without the pinky on top, or you can also play the top half, right, with the C on the high E string. It will still be a C major chord. But I would say most often this shape is used, just playing all the strings besides the first string. Then we move on. We were in the G shape. Next one is the E shape. So with the C at the base, and we have this shape. So just a suggestion, arch your finger slightly so that you hold down the 6th fret, then arch it a little bit and make sure, because you've got the other fingers covering the 5th, 4th and 3rd string, so you don't need to press them down with your index finger. Just make sure that you get the top 2 strings, the B and the E string, right? This is also a C major in the E form. And then eventually you have the C shape, which is up here, which is not necessarily that easy to play. Once you're familiar with these chord shapes, we can now move on to starting from the A chord and so on. So let's go through the A chord and see how it works. Obviously this time we start cycling through the CAGED system, starting from the A shape, right? So we have the A shape, G, E, D and C shape. So let's start with the A in the A shape, then we go to the A in the G shape, with the A on the bass of the 6th string, E form, E shape, then D shape. We are always playing an E major chord, always. And eventually, going back into the cycle, the last one is the A chord, A major chord, but in the C shape, right? Same, this shape, but just up here, so it becomes an A major chord. Now, obviously you can do the same thing with, and you should just get familiar with the whole cycle of the CAGED system, do the same thing with the G chord, right? Starting from the G shape, going to the D shape, always playing this G chord, same with the E and the D. And once you have all those chords, you will, along the way, you'll start to understand that you have available to you all these different shapes across the fretboard. Now, how can we implement these? Well, first of all, just by learning different chords of the CAGED system, you already have more than one possibility to play a chord on the fretboard, right? So you don't always have to just play around the open position all the time. Now, instead of playing a chord progression in the open position, say for example G to E to C to D, you would just, in the open position, you would play it like that. Right? Knowing the CAGED system, you can play this across the fretboard with different positions. You could play this even farther up the neck in a less smooth, edgier variation, which is totally fine, which you might choose to do when you have like distortion on it, because you can kind of play almost power chords, which is often used in this shape of just like root fifth and octave on top. Additionally, you can add in the third, so you could have something like this. Right, now you can play the same chord progression, but have it in closer proximity and having it in the same position, right? Like this. Right? So one last point. We obviously have just touched on the basics of the CAGED system here, and you can utilize this system to explore much more. What we have done here is we have played all the chords in major, right? We had the C major, we had the A major, we had the G major, E major, D major. Same thing, whenever you play this position on the neck, you can also choose different chords. It doesn't have to be a major chord, you can choose a minor chord. So for example, you could have A minor, right? This will always be the A shape here. And you know, after the A shape comes the G shape. So instead of playing the major, we play the minor chord here. Right. Now there, it will be more advanced, and it's probably necessary to know a little bit of theory, because you need to know where the third is, which is the note that needs to be lowered by a semitone to make a major chord minor, right? So obviously, once you have this A minor here, you can play the A minor here like that. And in the D shape up here as well. And in the C shape, which is kind of tricky. Right.
Oh my God! Wow!
If you have any questions, of course, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll answer every question and every comment. Please like this video if you've learned something, and subscribe if you want to follow me and get notifications for any future videos that I put out, and I see you next time.